Welcome, my friends, to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm Deborah Deras, your host. Each week, you'll hear from top experts in the speaking industry who will share their insider secrets. Learn what works and what doesn't by hearing real stories of success and failure. My intention is to be your speaking coach to help you reach your goals faster and easier. I believe you are the messenger for the message. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. Welcome back to Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast with your host, Deborah Deras. And you are in for another amazing treat. And why are you in for a treat? Because not only do we have an amazing professional paid speaker, we have someone that has been my coaching client, someone that has been committed and dedicated in my Toastmaster group, someone that has been in my mastermind group, someone who has come to multiple of my workshops. Why? Because he is dedicated to success, and you are going to learn his strategies for how he was the star of my mastermind group, not getting one, not getting two, but getting 3 paid speaking engagements, maybe more, in a period of only I think 8 weeks. So I'm going to introduce you to Micah. He is a millennial entrepreneur raised on the rough streets of South Central Los Angeles. He became an avid student in the power of mindset to achieve success. One day, after a pivotal life experience, he made a decision that he was destined to live, think, and dream big. He started his career in retail management, but quickly worked his way up to management in the banking industry. Today, Micah is a sought after, high energy mindset for success speaker, and soon to be a published author. Ooh la la. He speaks to youth organizations, associations, and Fortune 500 companies. He's also a leader of a team of 300 people in a network marketing group. His goal as a speaker is to provide millennials with the mindset for success strategies to create their own empires. Please help me welcome Mr. Micah Ross. Welcome.
Hello, Deborah. How are you?
I am so fantastic because I know that you, my friend, are the only other guest that will have more energy than me. So we don't have to adjust the frequencies on the audio here because we're both on the same divine alignment program. So I know that you have come a long way to be a professional speaker, knowing, where you started from and what your upbringing was. But can you tell people a little bit about your story? Like, take us way back to high school to where you were thinking about what you were going to do with your life and what your options were.
Cool. Well, to take you way back to the 90s, I'm a 90s kid, right? I went to, Manual Arts High School, and I was a special education student. It just really was. I had very poor eyesight as a little kid growing up, and it slowed down my reading. It just really meant that I couldn't see as well, so I wasn't able to read or have reading comprehension skills that well. And I wanted to grow up, and I wanted to become an artist. I wanted to draw and create things. I wanted to do music and all that other fun stuff. But it never came to fully manifest. And part of the reason why is because I was very ashamed and a little embarrassed that, my reading comprehension skills weren't up to par. So it made me hesitant in a lot of ways, but I still wanted success. I still wanted to, to live, think, and dream big. I still wanted those things. I was just afraid of, if people knew, they would look at me like I was stupid or if I wasn't smart enough. So I really just had to take it upon myself, graduating from high school. I actually graduated from high school, with honors, which is crazy enough. And I married the high school valedictorian, my lovely wife, Christina.
Oh, really? How sweet.
Oh yeah, man. And even then, I explained to Christina, I'm a special education student, and she never made me feel like I was ignorant or anything. And I did try to pursue those things after high school, but just it never manifests. I never made those right connections, but I always knew, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, that I was destined for something greater. Because I remember when I was really little, I was 12 years old, and I told my mom, I said, Mommy, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I told her that when I was 12. And growing up, life happens, things happen to you, and you kind of lose sight of that. You lose sight of your dreams and your passions. And I end up, after graduating high school, like I said, I tried to pursue these goals and aspirations, and nothing really came of it. I went to, like, because I could sing, I went to American Idol, I went to The Voice. None of those things manifest. I tried to go to school for art school, and unfortunately, my family just could not afford me getting into art school. And I tried extremely hard. Even my lovely, at the time, my girlfriend, Christina, who's now my wife, was also trying to help me out in that area as well. And just things were just not coming together. And when I mean one after another, like just weird things would pop up. I grew up in a household where one of my older siblings was a teen parent. So I kind of was a built-in babysitter, with all my nieces and nephews growing up with me. My first niece was born when I was 11 years old. So think about that when you're growing up in a household and kid after kid is being born, and you're sitting there like, okay, well, how do I get to my goals and dreams when the family's saying, hey, help the family, help the family. So more and more you kind of put yourself to the side so you can be there for others. I eventually got the opportunity to go to school, but it wasn't for nothing that I wanted. It was to go to school to be a massage therapist, because I got caught up with the hype of going back to school, getting higher education, which I totally agree with, but I should also say it should be free. But I wanted to go to school for higher education, and I was like, well, massage therapy, it's not that demanding of a career. I can make something of this. Went to school for 9 months. It was a school that was associated with Bryman, which is no longer around. And I did the 9-month training program, graduated, and couldn't find a job. I walked out of there with $93,000 of debt and couldn't find a freaking job.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. And I was trying to figure out, okay, well, I don't have any money. I couldn't get a job. I was trying to work while I was in school. Nobody would hire me. And I was just like, well, what do I do now? I was like, okay, Jesus, fix it. How do I make my life? How do I make this happen for me? So, because I was a special education student, there was programs that I had enrolled in while in high school, and one of them was still around. I believe it was called the First Steps or something like that. I can't really remember. And they had reached out to me one day, and they said, hey, Micah, what are you doing right now in life? We know you graduated from manual arts, graduated with honors. Where are you right now in life? And I told them, I currently graduated from my college. I'm trying to get into the massage therapist industry. And they said, well, maybe we could help you. So they wrote me a check to get not my degree, I already had that, but to get my license so I can actually work in the city of Los Angeles. What people don't know about massage therapy is that there's a lot of red tape associated with that industry because of the adult industry. So there's a lot of red tape, especially in Long Beach, California, and in LA. But here's the catch-22. In order for me to become a licensed massage therapist and work for an organization, I needed a letter of recommendation from the place that wished to hire me for the city to give me a license. But I need to get hired first in order for that to happen. No one wanted to hire me because I didn't have a license. A degree is wonderful.
Right.
A degree is awesome, but it's not a license. So I kept going back and forth with City Hall, and they told me, why don't you go back to the school? Because they promised that they would help me. So I said, okay. So I went back to the school, spoke with the counselors, and they all said the same thing. And I'm like, well, guys, I'm just spinning my wheels here. I don't know what to do. Here's what I needed to do, which no one explained to me, was that I needed to become a self-employed entrepreneur, a self-employed massage therapist. Then I could have taken the test, which was about $150. It's a multiple choice, 20 questions. Once I passed it, they would have gave me my license, and I could have went off and worked for any company I wanted or just started my own private practice.
Right.
I didn't find this out until like maybe maybe 6 years later, afterwards,
Oh
when
my God.
you be the
No wonder
judge.
they're out of business. No wonder they're out of.
Exactly. I was pretty much just doing massage therapy on the side just to help out friends and family and to take care of my wife. But going back to the first step program, again, I'm not sure that's the right name, but we're just going to say first step just to be safe. They had reached out to me, and like I said, I explained to them what happened. They gave me the money to take the test, and just nothing came of it because even they were kind of like, well, what do we do? So I ended up holding on to the check. They said, hold the check until you can get that answer. But in the meantime, you need to be able to got to pay for your loans and stuff. So they helped me apply for a job at Macy's, and I said, okay, well, I'll do that. So I was like, well, I can do retail. I like working with people. This will be fun. So I went and I literally got hired the same day I applied. They did a group interview. I got picked right away. Then they put me for a one-on-one interview with the human resources. The lady said, you're hired. When do you want to start? And I said, oh, can I start tomorrow? So I started right away. I was in the gift wrap department, and I liked what I did because I enjoy doing, I'm an artsy person. I love to draw. I love to create. And the fact that you give me an opportunity to do gift wrapping and it's making someone else happy, I'm just one of those people that love to see other people's joy.
So, Micah, I don't want to, just because this is a 22-minute podcast,
No,
I want to get. I'm going to sound bite your answer so that we could, because people are going to be like, retail and wrapping gifts is fine, but we want to know how you become a paid speaker. So I'm going to just invite you to tell us, how did you go from retail Macy's to being a professional speaker? Fast forward.
Where we're fast forwarding, guys. Well, eventually I left retail, got into banking. Banking tanked, and I was looking for something else to do. Seeking something else. 2009, just got married. Banking job that I had just imploded, and so I looked for another way to make money. And a friend introduced me to the network marketing industry. I started that and I really liked it. Most people are afraid of that industry because they're afraid of sales, but here's what I discovered. If you're sharing information, it's everything in life is a sale. Like everything is a sale. But moving forward, I eventually started presenting the opportunity and I was talking with a lot of people and I kind of got a flavor for like, oh, I like talking to people. I have a lot of fun doing this. So I went to a company training and they talked about being a speaker. And I said, maybe one day. And then I ran into a lovely lady named Deborah Deras and we met at the Lavender Blue in Inglewood and we were talking and we just had this great connection. And I just started learning so much from you, Deborah, on just a personal level. I was just like, wow, what a wonderful woman she is and how, vibrant and awesome. And I was like, yeah, man, I want to be like that when I grow up. So eventually you introduced me to Periscope. And I started right? And one day I was doing this Periscope live stream and I was talking about being a 21st century entrepreneur. Who are we and what do we look like? And there was a school teacher that reached out to me and said, hey, would you mind coming and speaking at our school? We would love for you to come. We'll pay you $1,000, all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, sure. So I did that. And that's what really opened the door for me saying, maybe I can do more with this speaking. And then, of course, talking with Deborah and being a part of Deborah's mastermind. And again, just being a student of Deborah's in general for all of you who are listening. Deborah is a ball of energy and a wealth of knowledge. And I'm just like, I am feeding off this energy because it is so awesome and delicious. And from there, I joined the Be a Paid Speaker Mastermind session. And guys, from personal experience, I grew so much as a person, as a leader, because the area I want to focus on and tackle is mindset, because I really believe that if you capture the mind, you capture the heart, you capture the soul. And one of the greatest things about Deborah's mastermind workshop is that you get all three of those things taught as you're growing and developing and mastering your craft. It was just, I learned how to really surrender, most importantly, because, being a guy, we have that hustle mindset. We got that go, go, go mentality. And one of the things Deborah taught me was about surrendering and just allowing things to happen, not focusing on the how, but just the what. What you want. Don't worry about the rest. Everything will fall into place, as long as you're moving forward. And that's one thing that I can say personally that worked for me. And just in a few weeks of doing that, I had spoke just in conversation. I spoke with a pastor who was doing a youth program in his church, and he was like, him and his wife were talking, and I just kind of like ear hustled. I was ear hustling the conversation, and I walked up and I said, "Well, what are you trying to teach your youth group?" And so they was explaining entrepreneurship, and I said, "Oh, well, I am a speaker, and I teach mindset, and I also teach entrepreneurship." And they were like, "Great!" So I ended up speaking at a church, and that was like what was a few weeks after joining the mastermind group for Be a Paid Speaker Now, and I was just amazed at just taking advice from Deborah, just learning how to surrender and let go, and just let God and just run and roll with it. I was so impressed, and the moment I experienced that, I just basically just said, "Okay, I'm just rolling with the punches." And I must say, I am even more calm and more at peace because of it. I even got the opportunity to speak at a school, which I love speaking to the youth because I think it's so important that we find them right when they're at the cusp of high school into college, and teaching them that they can rise above their circumstances. And in today's world, you need more degrees than a thermometer just to get a regular day job or just to get a job at McDonald's. And it's crazy because, Deborah, when we were kids, we could walk out of high school, go fill out an application, and have a job like that.
Right.
But this isn't the 90s anymore. The economy has changed drastically. And today's youth, they don't realize that. Even though a lot of millennials believe in infinite possibilities, which I think is fabulous, but a lot of them just don't understand how those things, like those little things, matter. And if
So
you
wait,
keep,
before you go on to that, I want to just back up to some of the things that you said, just kind of unpack them before we
yeah,
go to the next topic of millennials and what you do with them.
yeah,
Because when you talked about your getting gigs, I want the listeners that are thinking about, okay, this guy, graduated special education, he had a massage career that didn't go through, did some Macy stuff, and now he's getting $1,000 for speaking. What exactly did he do? So I want to break down the steps, because one of the things that we know is that success leaves clues and that
absolutely.
there's strategies to how you behave. So one of the things that Micah said was everything in life is a sale, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly selling yourself. And when we talk about selling yourself, it's simply, I say, sharing the
Mm-hmm.
problem or the pain that you solve for someone, right? Haven't I said that in every one of my marketing classes you've
Yeah.
ever attended? So what Micah does and what Micah did, and when he was in the mastermind group that had him book more paid speaking engagements than I think anybody in the group, am I right? You were like
Yes.
number one,
Yeah.
is that he did not let any fear stop him. He did not let any special education story stop him. He did not let any gender, cultural, anything. He didn't let any limiting beliefs stop him when it came to having a conversation. Because I know that pastor gig that you got, you were like at the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
So number one, he made a decision when he was younger that when he told his mom, "I'm going to be a millionaire." So when you talk about live, think, dream big, the first step is deciding. The
Absolutely.
word decide comes from the Greek word to cut off. When you make a decision to be a millionaire, you cut off any possibilities of being less than that. And everything in your path of synchronicity, right place, right time, right people,
Absolutely.
allows you to align your divine talent, skills, and abilities. You know what I always say, to be
Yeah.
abundantly paid, to be of service, to do what you love. So, what Micah said was that, he made a decision, then he took action, but at the same time, and this is where I want to break down what you were talking about, the mind, body, soul piece. It's not just fluff, or it's not
No.
just a cliche mind, body, soul. When we talk about surrender, and this is what I talk about in my Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict book, The Success with Ease and Grace, it's focusing on the what, doing the inspired action,
Absolutely.
not from a place of fear, that's ego based, but coming from a place of faith, that's inspiration based. So Micah could get inspired, oh, let me go shopping to buy food for my wife. I'm going to cook for her tonight, and then divinely meet that pastor. Or let me, Deborah said I should update my LinkedIn and put professional speaker. Oh, and I get a gig from that, right? So
Absolutely.
it's about It's so the reason why Micah was saying that it's not about hustle, it's about surrender for my program and our belief system is because there's a million people that will talk to you about hustle, and that's fine, it may work for them, but I doubt it, because life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you can hustle for a limited period of time, and then guess what happens? You freaking burn out, friend. You burn the heck out. Ask any entrepreneur. And recently, and I just want to dedicate, because this is the first show since my partner passed, my co-author of the book Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict, Adelaide O'Dunton, we wrote about the burnout in our book. And she had an autoimmune disorder that they thought was like a lupus thing, and it led to throat cancer. And she recently passed, early 60s. Okay. Burnout is not something to play around with. And we don't have to put the axe to the grindstone, go full force, and kill ourselves to have success. There is a graceful way to do it, and it's with alignment. So when you talk about your soul's contract, Micah, because you were just about to talk about the millennials, but I wanted to break that down because people need to understand the success leaves clues, and the steps you took are exactly the steps they can take. So one of the things I talk about in the Be a Paid Speaker Mastermind and all the online programs is clarity is cash. So, how did you get clarity that the millennial mindset market was the market for you, and why are you so passionate about working with millennials?
Well, like, as you say, clarity is cash. One of the key things that I noticed was I was speaking to one of my friends. This is after I got the opportunity after Periscope. I was talking to one of my friends. Her name is Judy Scales, and we were talking about entrepreneurship. And one of the things she talked about is that she does career day at Jefferson High School. Now, that was the first time I had ever spoken to a group of high schoolers. My wife and I were talking about it, and I spoke with Miss Judy Scales, and I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And one of the attendees at this school, or alma mater, or past students, was the TV show host, Judge Maybelline. This is her high school where she grew up in South LA. And she had said, "Oh, well, Judge Maybelline will be there. I want you to meet all these people and speak to the youth." So I end up going. I registered to go. And the first time I set foot in that classroom, and I just told children about just being an entrepreneur and the industry that I'm a part of, which is the direct sales industry, how their eyes lit up and seeing how they were just attuned to what I was saying, because I'd asked them, how many of you plan to go to plan to go to college after high school? Only maybe 4 or 5 kids raised their hand in a classroom of 30 children. And I mean, like, and I asked them, well, why do so many of you don't want to go to college? And a lot of them just simply said, we can't afford it. And when I heard that, and I understood, again, being a person who, didn't go to college right after high school because my family couldn't afford it. And I just said, wow. And at the time, if I had someone to say, Micah, you're not a victim of your circumstances, there's another way, man. There's some other way where you can make this work for you. Then in that moment, I just had that divine download, as you always teach us. I had a divine download, and I just heard in my spirit, said, these are the people you need to talk to. These are the people you need to reach. And I was like, well, how, God? I'm older than him. Yeah, I'm a millennial, but I'm in my early 30s. How can I help these children? He said, it's not about how you're going to do it. It's what you need to do. And what you need to do is help them. And I said, okay. So here's my calling. Here's what's assigned to me. Here's on my soul's contract. And I was like, all right, man, let's do this. And ever since then, I've just had this driving desire to reach the youth between the ages of 16 to 21, or even older. Let's do it, because if they're able to understand that they can rise above any circumstances, and how I mentioned earlier, I'm a person who grew up from high school as a special education student, but yet, today I'm an entrepreneur because I never gave up, because I didn't, as you said, I didn't give into fear. I made the decision never to allow my fears to keep me from what I wanted, and that
And you're not just an entrepreneur, you're someone that gets paid thousands of dollars per hour to speak. Let's just
Yes.
clarify that, friend.
Yes.
So really, there is no limitation
No.
other than the ones you set for yourself. So you're reminding them. So the process that you did to get a divine download, did you just do a prayer or what did you do to receive that information?
What I did afterwards, after I had that moment, like just sitting and listening to the other speakers, I went home and I did have a prayer, and I just prayed and I said, "Well, God, what?" I was trying to figure out why was I feeling so drawn to these kids, and that's when I had my prayer. And in the midst of that prayer, that's when God said, "These are the people you need to talk to. These are the people that you need to help." And that's when I would just, as sometimes we do, we question God, and we're like, well, how, God, how am I going to be able to help them? And that's when he was like, it's not about the how, it's not about any of that. It's about what you need to do. And what you need to do is help these children. But again, I was like, well, how do I reach them? How do I make the connection? And his connection was your story, Micah. Your story
Mm.
is what's going to draw them in. And this is how you're going to help these children. And I was like, got it.
And I just want to say, because I've seen you grow and develop and expand, just from being in Toastmasters with you. Toastmasters, for those of you that don't know, it's a nonprofit organization that helps you develop your presentation, leadership, and organization skills. It's so inexpensive and it's so helpful. But seeing you from when you started to how organized, I mean, can you give them your YouTube channel so they could check it out?
Sure. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can type in the word Live, Think, Dream Big on YouTube, and you can pull it up. I have a lot of fun stuff on there. I do spiritual mindset stuff. I'm speaking. All that good stuff is on there.
And make sure you upload the video I did of you recently, because he recently did a video that I was like, is this Les Brown? I was like, it was just so the cadence and the pacing, because speaking, a lot of it is storytelling, but a lot of it is, getting across facts and getting people to go into action. How are you, not just in speaking on stage, but in life, so fearless? How are you able, because I think that's one of your key gifts that you may not know that you have, but that's going to make a difference with the audience members that are listening. Because we could, this podcast gives strategy after strategy, secret after secret of paid speakers. But if people listening are too scared, it doesn't matter what strategies I give. How can you help people be fearless like you are, to talk to people in stores and to really charge what you're worth?
Okay. Here's what I tell people, and this is something I actually literally, this is how you know everything is a part of divine order, because I had a conversation with a friend yesterday. A lot of people, we get comfortable and we get complacent with wherever we are in life. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We get comfortable and we get complacent. And then the moment something happens, we feel powerless and we feel that we can't do anything, right? Here's what I've learned. What does your comfort allow you to do? Has it allowed you to get the things that you want in life? And that could be anything. What has comfort truly afforded you other than sometimes struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, not being fully fulfilled, not being happy, not feeling purposefully fulfilled? So here's what I tell people. If you want to complain about your situation, that's great and all, but complaining doesn't solve the problem. Action does. So again, living, and just to kind of touch back on this, in
Wait,
2000,
hold on. That was tweetable.
okay,
So complaining doesn't, just in case people want to tweet. Complaining, follow me. I'm at Deborah Deras. What are you on Twitter?
you can follow me on Twitter at Micah Ross.
Okay. So the quote is, complaining doesn't solve anything. Action does.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
And just to, like I said, to touch back on this, in 2009 is when me and my wife got married. We were both 25 years old. My wife has a master's in mathematics, and she is a college teacher as well as a high school teacher, and she teaches math. My wife experienced, after her third year of being a teacher, that's when you're tenured, she got a preliminary layoff notice. And during that time, the banking industry tanked. And I was in the loan department of the bank. So my manager walks in and gives me a pink slip. And for 1 week, I didn't know if I was going to have a job or not. And again, there was no one there to help me, and I didn't know how to solve my problem. The only way I knew how to solve my problem was spiritually, and that was just through prayer. I just prayed. I was like, God, just please send me something. I don't care what it is. Just send me something. Help me because I cannot help myself. And, growing up, our families, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. So my families weren't readily available. Be like, oh, okay, baby, I can bail you out. Here's $10,000. Go solve your problems financially. No one was available to do that for us. So when entrepreneurship through direct sales, network marketing reared its head, though I might have been a skeptic, here's what I heard. I just heard God say, remember you asked me for help? Remember you asked me for something? Here it is, my son. You better take it. So again, going back to what you said earlier, how do people get past their fears? You got to really think critically. If your situation is so bad that if God forbid something happened right now and you would just be with your hand out and you're in a position where no one can help you, then guess what you got to do? You got to think differently. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a new result. The question is what results have you gotten? And if they're not the results you want, then you have to do things differently. You have to think differently. You have to act and move differently. And if that's required doing something outside the box, like, being a paid speaker, learning a new skill, whatever it is, then get out there and do it because guess what? Your dreams are depending on you. You only get one life to live. And do you want to live it one day waking up and saying, what happened to my life? Or do you want to wake up one day and say, wow, this is my life? These are the things you got to be asking yourself. So that's
And
my.
Micah, also, one of the things that is your key for that is you're pouring in your mindset for success
Yeah.
mentors. You're going to conferences where people are successful. You're reading books where people are successful. You're surrounding yourself by people that are successful. And
Absolutely.
and I mean, a lot of people will take time to complain, kvetch. My grandma used to say, my Jewish grandma, they complain, kvetch about their life. But how many people are willing to take action? And I mean, no matter what is going on for your life, I remember when you had that downturn in your leadership team. I don't know if you want to talk about that. And you still had a positive mindset. So you're a living embodiment of not letting circumstances, situations, the economy, life, layoffs dictate your possibility, right?
Yeah.
You are in charge of it each and every moment of every day. We want to sound like motivational speakers. Sorry, friends.
Yes.
Sorry, listeners. If we start sounding motivational, it's what we do. And neither of us call each other motivational speakers. You're a mindset for success speaker. I'm a peak performance speaker. Motivation is just
Absolutely.
a byproduct, and it's really inspiration because it's within people that they receive, not
Yeah.
motivation because that's outside. But it's something that seems to me very natural for you. But how did you figure out? Let's talk money.
Okay.
Because we're almost at the last couple questions, but I want to make sure that people understand when you first started getting paid to speak, because you were in the right place at the right time with the right people, living fearlessly because you live in possibility. How did you know how much to charge, and how did you deal with people trying to nickel and dime you and that kind of thing?
Well, I learned that from you, Deborah. Just from being in multiple workshops that you've done and being a part of the Paid Speaker Now uh, program, I would say at first, when I first started, I didn't know what to charge, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people listening in, like, what do I charge? How do I charge people? But when you explained that you get paid not only to speak, but you also get paid for travel and everything. So I began to say, okay, well, let me see how Deborah is doing this. How is she charging, to accommodate herself? So I put together a number 5,000. I said, well, is this a great baseline? And when you think about it, it's a good baseline when you're starting out, putting together your package as you educated on your contract for negotiation. That's how I was able to kind of put that together when it comes to getting paid, especially when you're starting out. You want to be realistic with your number. And at the same time, you also want to show people that, no, I'm going to bring you some value. When you book me, oh, your booking emits value. So yeah, you're going to pay $5,000. Yeah, you're going to pay $10,000 and higher numbers as you go on and so forth in your career.
Yeah, and the fee thing is a very tricky thing. In
Yeah,
fact, usually in the National Speakers Association, it's a kind of a taboo topic. A lot of
it
people don't
is.
talk about it because it depends on so many variables. As speakers, professional speakers, we're experts. We
Hmm.
have decades of experience, or we have life experience. We have work experience, educational experience. We have all the it's like the 7 E's. Remember, I talked about the 7 E's in our program.
Yeah,
And so to determine our fee, it's not based on an hourly rate. It's based on the value that you bring to the organization. And the
absolutely.
value isn't just what you bring that day, but it's the information that you're giving them that they could use to improve their lives, their organization, their association, their institution. And also, there's the social media piece of it. That's why I
Hmm.
the social media classes for speakers, Facebook for speakers and LinkedIn for speakers. So many of my personal speaking engagements have come through YouTube, whatever. My biggest speaking gig I ever got was through a YouTube video that an agency saw. So knowing about how to deal with travel, knowing about how to negotiate is so important because I don't know about you, Micah, but probably not you because you had me. But in the beginning, I was completely screwed because I took a gig where they had me pay for all of my travel up front. And it was every weekend going to Texas. So it was costing me like $2,500 every weekend to fly in, to do the hotel and all of this stuff. Maybe not 2,500, but 750 or something like that. I
Hmm.
think 2,500 was the 5 weeks. And if you don't know how to negotiate your contracts, it could be very, very difficult because there could be places that pay you a year later. And if you're paying for all the travel expenses up front. So it's really important to understand how the business works. And that's why, we have the podcast, I have the membership, the Ignite Your Speaking and the Be a Paid Speaking now. And that's why there are books out there that you could read. One of my favorite books is The Wealthy Speaker. Remember, we read that book in the mastermind? Oh
Yes.
my God. She's so good. I have to have her on the show. She's an amazing podcast as well. And Lois Creamer's, she's going to be here, Bookmore Speaking, another
Mhm.
great book that we read in the mastermind. But what other marketing strategies have you used, Micah? Because you are, besides a great speaker and a mindset for success strategist, you're a marketer yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being a leader of 300 people, like your whole tech system, tell them about that and all the different strategies you use.
Okay, so one of the other strategies, and this is something I tell everybody, doesn't matter what you do, you got to get out and network. You got to network, you got to meet people. I agree with Deborah on the social media thing. I have gotten paid speaking gigs through social media, through LinkedIn, and like I also said, like Periscope. But one of the other things I do is that I make sure that I meet with people and make a great connection. That's one of the strategies I use. And on my team, this is a service we provide. It's called text alerts. What it is that you would opt into a keyword that you would create attached to a little short code. So for example, so if you guys want to book me for a speaking engagement or teaching you how to use this service for yourself, here's what you do. You can text the word Micah Ross. So you would type my name in, Micah, no space, Ross, to this short code, 55469. So again, that's Micah Ross, Michah, to 55469. And in about a minute or so, you'll get a response back that says, "Oh, hello, my name is Micah Ross. I'm a leadership mindset speaker for success, da 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 da." And then you get the second message, and guess what's attached to it? My phone number. So you can call me, you can call my business line. And guess what? That's a great way for you to stay in communication with people. Another cool thing about it is that you can use it as your personal commercial. You can send people messages on demand. You can schedule them. It's one of the greatest tools that I have at my disposal when letting people. And one of the key things about marketing or anything is always staying top of mind. That's another thing I learned about being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a speaker, is always staying top of mind. So people always remember you when, like, after you meet them, like 60% of the time or 98% of the time, people kind of forget to follow up. And that's another thing I always tell people is that after you meet with them and you get their business card, you exchange information, immediately follow up within 24 hours. It's best to follow up. That's another one of my tactics. Like, for like this recent thing, like speaking at the school that I got the opportunity to speak at this continuation school. I met with the lady at Toastmasters, talked with her. I went out. I had to go away on business. I came back. I immediately followed up and I immediately went ahead and finished that gig, went to that school, connected with those awesome children. And now those kids are reaching out to me and we're having constant communication. Same thing with anything that you do. If you make sure that you're finding ways to network and follow up, even if it's on social media, because look at social media as if you're talking to the person face to face. That's how I look at it. When I was in the running to speak for an event in New York City, in New Jersey for 16 Things Kids Can Do. Same thing. The lady spoke to me. She and I had a phone conversation, and I constantly followed up with her. And I'm just telling you, there's fortune in the follow up. There is a huge fortune in the follow up if you do that. But again, if you want to book me for an event or you want to learn how to use this tool for yourself, just remember to text Micah Ross, no spaces with my name, Micah Ross to 55469. You'll get my contact info, and I'll be more than happy to educate you on how to use this service for yourself and how to show you how to grow with a mindset for success.
And let me just tell you how I would use the service, and I should talk to you offline, Micah, so I could get this. So this is what I suggest because the best way, can I give advice right now on how to get paid to speak? Can I just drop it down on the mic? So if you are, the best way that I have gotten paid to speak is to speak for free.
Yes.
So in fact, my first paid speaking engagement came out of a Toastmasters club when people said, "Oh, you're so great. You give so many great speakings. Where do you get paid? Where do you speak? Or how much do you charge to speak?" And I said, "You get paid? How much will you pay me?" And I got my first gig, which was like $250 for San Diego Chamber of Commerce, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
But if I speak at any event for free, I need to be able to stay in contact with the audience. This is what I taught Micah and everyone in the Be a Paid Speaker Mastermind group, because the audience members are the best people to refer you for a paid speaking engagement at the company where they work or the organization that they're in or the university that they're at or the fraternity and sorority they're at, and or all of the above, right? So if I'm speaking from the stage, I don't have time, this is old school, like to get a clipboard to have everybody write down their name and email address, plus you can't read it, right? And plus to put it on an email list, whatever. Everybody has a cell phone in their hand. If I was giving a speech and I say, "How many of you enjoy the speech?" Well, how would you like to get a free ebook on how to be paid to speak? Text the word "be paid to speak," 555, whatever. Then everyone's on my email list. They get the ebook, and then I let them know where I'm speaking. What does that do for me as a speaker? It keeps me at top of mind, right? And people will more likely look at a text message in today's day and age than for me 102,000 emails. I will eventually get to them. But but what I'm saying is your texting is genius because it allows you to offer to give free speaking engagements at different organizations.
Absolutely.
You give them a free something that they want. They get into your email list, which is then your marketing funnel. And then you have the ability to get paid by these audience members. And you just repeat, 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 rinse, wash, repeat. Right, Micah?
Absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. Yes, I totally agree with that. And
But that's where you and I are the dynamic duo, because I have the idea and you have the text program. So together we can help you get paid, be paid. But the other thing that Micah said, which again, this is so important, the speaking business in my last podcast, Tana said is a marketing business. She says, if you're in the speaking business, you're in the marketing business. And what you're saying is, and you should tweet this, if you're in the speaking business, you have to be in the follow up business. And I'm not saying that you have to do it. Maybe you have a virtual assistant that you hire that does it for you, but somebody needs to be following up with contacts. Because what's going to happen, I'm sure, Micah, you can attest to this. You're speaking, even at Toastmasters, I'm sure, Micah, and somebody says, "Oh, we'd love to have you on your radio show." Dr. Lee says that to you. You know, here's your card. You have to call not just once, but it could take 7, to 11 times to follow up before you seal a deal. I've had deals that have taken a period of 3 years, 4 years. Procter and Gamble, right? So
Mhm.
there have been, so having a follow up system. What system do you use to be able to follow up with people, Micah?
The system I use, now you guys might laugh at me. This is an old method, but I actually pick up the phone and I call people. After I get your information, I can automatically send you like a hey, thanks, it was nice meeting you. But then now that I actually have your number, I will personally call you and say, hey, this is Micah. We met X, Y, and Z. I would like to talk with you. And sometimes this is just me, and I don't say everybody do this unless you can. I say, hey, I had such a great time speaking with you. I would like to take you to lunch, or I would like to take you out now. I'll pay for coffee. That's just one of the things that I do so I can so I can build that connection, so I can further doing that. And that's literally how I follow up with people. I've heard of having an assistant or having an automated system follow up with people constantly, but I always try to do that. But I agree with you, Deborah. Sometimes it may take 7 to 8 to 11 tries to get back with someone, but that's one of the methods that I use. But if you have something better or something easier, use that, but ensure that you follow up.
And Micah, I mean, I think when I first met you at that networking meeting, and I met a lot of people, you go to these networking meetings and they're like, you meet 20 people, 20 cards. Micah probably followed up with me 3 to 4 times to make sure that we met. And that's how you started coming to my workshops and different programs and things like that. So follow up is the key. So we've given a lot of great tools and strategies. First thing to decide, make a decision that being a paid speaker is for you. Two, instead of hustle, take inspired action and surrender. Focus on the what, not the how. Because if you focus on the how, it's very overwhelming because there's a lot of things that you may not know how it works in the speaking industry. But if you focus on what, which is clarity is cash, Micah said, he decided from going to that Maybelline speech that it was the millennials and their mindset, that's his why. Once you know your why, you just focus on that. And the marketing strategies that he talked about was, follow up, actually picking up the phone and calling, which hardly anybody does anymore. I mean, the calls that I do get nowadays are all automated. And if it's a real live person, people are going to be like thrown off. Wow, it's a real person. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing that Micah does is he constantly is putting himself out there and making yourself visible, whether it's Periscope, LinkedIn, Facebook. You're doing videos. That's one of the things we didn't talk about, but I know it's a strategy that you're doing Facebook lives on a regular basis. You're doing videos on Instagram in order to let people hire you as a paid speaker. They need to know what your expertise is. And I always talk about niching your niche, and that's why Micah is so mindset is his niche, but millennial mindset. And the more you can niche your niche, the faster and the easier you're going to get paid to speak. So, how can people stay in touch with you, Micah? So, if they want to live, think, and dream big and get maybe that text program you're talking about?
Right? Okay, awesome. So there's a few ways where you can get in contact with me, guys. You can also follow me on Instagram at mross2027. That's M, the letter M, Ross, my last name, and the number 2027 on Instagram. Make sure you friend me and send me an inbox and let me know, hey, Micah, I heard about you on Deborah's awesome podcast, and I'll make sure that we definitely get in contact. Or you can text the word Micah Ross. Remember, Micah, Micah, no space, Ross, to 55469. And when you do, you'll automatically get a message from me. Make sure you send me a text or your call or you DM me on Instagram so that way we can keep in contact and I can help you out.
And by the way, I'll put all of this in the show notes because I know some of you may be driving. It will be hard for you to write it down. So I'm all about success with ease and grace. So don't you worry. No te preocupes. I will have that in the show notes for you with all of Micah's social media information. And Micah, please email that to me so I can put it in right away. So
Well,
I want to say thank you to Micah. We really appreciate you, all of your words of wisdom, your insight, your story from special education to being a prolific, sought after paid millennial mindset speaker. I appreciate you for living your soul's contract, for being still, for listening to those divine downloads, and for shining your light. Because I believe if everyone was as courageous as Micah and let their light shine, that this world would be an even better place, because now is the time to speak your truth. I believe that we are all messengers for a very important message. And I invite you to take these strategies, take these tools, and use them. It's not just about listening to us and hearing about what we're talking about. It's taking that inspired action. That's what Micah does. That's what I do every day. Constantly, every day, I'm scared a million times. Like, I'm like, what am I doing now? Podcast? Great. It's just doing a Facebook Live? Great. Whatever it is, if it scares you, it's fantastic, because it's pushing you outside of your comfort zone. And fear flipped over, just take that empanada, babusa, whatever you have, boom, it's excitement. And so if you're excited about this podcast and you want to share it with friends, really appreciate you doing a review on iTunes. 5 stars, friends. Cinco estrellas. Tell everyone how fantastic it is and share it. Share it on your social media. Let other people know that we're out here so that they can get a chance to shine their light. And remember, with the power of synergy, my friends, anything is possible. See you next time. Ciao. Thanks for tuning in. Join us next week for more juicy secrets to get you paid to hit that stage. If you would like to grab my free ebook on how to be a confident speaker, go to www.deborahderas.com/speak now. And remember, you are the messenger for the message.